I'm gonna step back in time a little bit, about 6 years ago. So I'm in West Virginia. I'm standing on top of a pipeline. I'm looking down the right of way. One of our pipeline technicians had done a locate, just put down some pipeline marker flags, some temporary flags, and really noticed a strange bend in the pipe. So this pipeline right of way was had three other pipes in there. Behind these pipes was one of the largest gas processing plants in the world. So, shutting down this line would be pretty significant. We'd be shutting down gas to an entire region, resulting in a state of emergency for neighboring states. And, at a huge cost to both the operator and our upstream producer customers. So, it's literally tens of millions of dollars a day in revenue that you're looking at shutting in. So it's a tough decision, and you want that data behind it, right? So this particular decision to shut it in was complicated because of a lack of that data. It was difficult to determine if the line had moved or if it was under stress from outside influences, because there wasn't really an evident landslide that had taken place. So, we've seen a lot of landslides in the area. A lot of them are the translational landslides where the whole hillside just kind of comes off. This one ended up being a rotational landslide, so it was really difficult to see. So we're up there. We're trying to convince ourselves that a contractor must have came through there and laid around a big, large rock formation or something. It's not uncommon to find boulders the size of Volkswagen Bugs in this area. So it was, we pulled our as-builts out. As-builts showed a straight line. So then we were questioning, maybe the surveyor didn't shoot it in correctly. But, we really can't do that because that's the only data that we had. So we couldn't attribute the bend to that. So really out of abundance of caution and the great safety culture that we had, we decided to shut the line in. So we started taking some soil off of this pipe. And as soon as we started to remove the soil, we noticed movement on the pipe. So, we knew we had a big issue and we knew it wasn't something the contractor did. So we ended up having to replace, I forget, 1,500 foot of right of way, completely rebuilt the right of way all the way down to the toe. We had to replace all three pipelines in that right of way. It was a huge effort. Due to our amazing teams and contractors, we were able to get all this done in pretty short order. I think the total turnaround from the time that we shut in, got everything back in service, was around 10 days. I probably lost 10 years of my life in those 10 days. Just trying to get this thing turned around. And it was a huge cost. It was a huge cost to us, our producer customers, as well as consumers of the energy in that region. A lot of people don't realize how their energy is produced. And when you go and take, 3% of natural gas production offline, it has a significant impact. And what was really amazing was, had the contractors or had we had enough foresight to just properly install a drain tile system, we would have mitigated this whole thing. So like I was saying before, the slip wasn't incredibly apparent. It was a large rotational slip, started well off the right of way. It wasn't easy to see by the naked eye. We had done foot patrols. We had done aerial line patrols. There was really not a scarp that was visible. Sometimes right away reclamation, they can come through and smooth some of those things off. The grass growing in heavily wet areas is a little bit easier to get that regrowth. So it covers some of this stuff up. So it wasn't super easy to see. And for me, that was really alarming. We can go out there, we can do our full integrity management program. We can run smart tools, have all the cathodic protection in the world and still not be detecting this huge risk to our asset and not properly quantifying what that risk is. So much of integrity management has been focused from the inside of the pipeline out, but the amount of new lines going in to these challenging right-of-way areas has introduced really a new threat of outside influences. And these influences, they start well off the right of way. I mean, they can be a couple hundred feet off the right of way. They could be underneath tree cover where an aerial pipeline patrol is not going to be able to see it very easy. So we knew that we had to find a better way to calculate these risks and mitigate them. We never really wanted to be stuck in that decision-making process again. Because it is very tough to make these decisions that have such large repercussions without having some data behind it, right? Can you go to the next slide? So, shortly after this, we went and partnered with Teren to do a case study with their aerial detection and analytics suite that they have on one of our areas of operations. So, we wanted it to be controlled. We had just got done doing surveys and walking around 300 miles of pipe in a certain geographic area. So we selected that 300 miles of pipe of business critical assets. And we had already determined that there were geohazards present. So we wanted to kind of see how many that they could capture. Are they going to miss any? Can they see stuff that we can't see? So we really did kind of this blind test with Teren. The second part of it is we really wanted to get a baseline of where our pipelines were and a baseline elevation profile so we can go out there and see if we have any movement over time. So the first 300 miles, we had about 246 unprioritized slips that we had found. Out of these 246 slips, I remember getting a spreadsheet and looking at them like, okay, which one do I go after first? There's 246. I'm not going to be able to go and fix 246 of them. So there was no real way to classify severity or determine which ones to fix first without, getting a geotech survey crew out there and spending a lot of money and time trying to figure out which ones were most critical, which ones were business critical, which one had the biggest impact to safety of our neighbors. So it's just very overwhelming. Up to this point, we'd been averaging around 3 to 5 shut-ins a year due to slips. And these were costing us somewhere, around $7 million a day in lost revenues between us and our customers. It's not just the midstream that you're looking at here, but you're shutting in production to the well pads in these regions. So it goes all the way back to the royalty owner. So it's a huge impact shutting in these pipelines and these assets. Teren flew the area and through their slip detection algorithms, can you go to the next slide? They found 12 slips that we weren't able to find on our foot patrols. We had one of the rainiest seasons on record, and we didn't incur any shut-ins that year. We were able to reduce our repair budget almost 90%. And how we were able to do all this is we were able to repair a lot of these landslides and slips and potential slip areas before they turned into a catastrophic failure. So really by switching from the reactive mode that we were in to a proactive mode and maintenance program, we were really able to reduce our costs. So, on average, we were spending somewhere between $500,000, $3 million to go out and fix a landslide. And, we were really able to drive that cost down to now you get a crew going and you can go and hit 50 sites and it's $10,000 a site to go out and re-divert some water or put a drain tile in, or it's just a lot cheaper and it's a lot more manageable. And also the other part of it, we were able to prioritize our active slips and put together monitoring programs. So what I mean by that is we were able to say, what, this slip is here, but it looks like it's been here for 5 years and it hasn't moved. So we're just going to monitor it. We're going to come out every month and see if anything moves. We're not necessarily going to go in here and rebuild this entire hillside for $3 million. Or we're going to say, this is a brand new slip. There's a ton of water here. This is something that's a high priority for us, and we need to get in there and we need to get it fixed. And what we noticed is by doing that, our maintenance program started really paying for itself. So just the avoidance of one major geohazard, we were able to effectively fund our entire maintenance program